And we're live.
Every
Yes.
time song gets me. I love it.
Yes. It's just a good pump up. It's a good, and especially after 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks instead of 2, because this guy here was too busy with set life. 19 days on the set, finishing a movie. And yesterday we all wrapped. And then today I started a new project. So it's just, it keeps on going. But at least I have time for our show again.
And you're looking grayer because of that film shoot from the looks of it. Your hair is looking grey.
Oh, my hair looks like it's been 19 days on set. So look at that. Look.
So,
wow.
A couple big things. Firstly, the channel change.
Yeah.
We've changed channels from Arty Dans to Asian Film Fans.
We're on Asian Film Fans.
And we've changed the name of the show to the Asian Film Fans Movie Talk Show.
Which makes more sense.
Which does make more sense.
Because it's not always Monday for us.
No. And I'm really glad to see you, by the way. Really glad. Yeah. Wow. But do you know who else I'm really glad to see?
Good to be back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we come back with a bang. Yeah,
we came, didn't we? Now, I'm about to introduce. We've had special guests before, and I love all of our special guests. But this is the first special guest we've had that's actually directed not 1, not 2, not 3, but 6 films. Yeah. Or is it 6? I think it's that way. 6.
Is that 6?
Yeah. So I'm going to introduce us to the one and only, because I don't believe there is another one. Gilbert Chan.
Gilbert Chan.
Hey, hi.
Welcome
guys.
to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show,
Dan
Gil.
and Wilco, I apologize for the bad cinematography,
No.
Because I'm just using an iPhone from my office. So
I love this green look. I love this.
But, it's got that gritty, iPhone look, right? So
yes.
Well, aren't you supposed to pay someone else to do the cinematography?
No budget, bro.
Yeah.
Look, you wouldn't believe it, Wilco. We've got our first comment already, and it's someone wishing us good morning.
Good morning. What time is it there, Cheryl?
So what time is it there, Cheryl? Good morning to you too, Cheryl, too. But really good evening to yourself, Gil. And we are so happy that you've decided to come on our show today. We had a bit of a rocky intro because you came because of a review that I did of your movie 2359, where you actually took the feedback pretty cool. And
I love it.
Well, I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe the director had actually watched my video review. So I'm glad that you were able to have you here. Gilbert, you've got a fan club already.
Oh,
JD Chua says, hello, Gilbert. Looking good.
Woo.
Now, as tradition on the show, Gil, at the start, Wilco and I just love to go through our film diaries, the movies that we've watched over the past couple of weeks.
Or at least
it's been 4 weeks. It's been 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Wilco, do you want to go first?
I can go first, and I'm very short because I saw nothing besides, of course, today's film. I've been on set for 19 days, so I didn't have time to sit back, chill, and to watch my own movie. Let's say to have some down moments, except for yesterday and today. I had some, and then of course I was preparing for this show. So for me,
you only watched 2359.
Yes, of course, that's the only one that I watched. So. I'm going to be very, very on the mark for that one. Like I said earlier, that's what I did for this last 4 weeks almost. It was basically last time when we were live, I said I came straight from the wardrobe and I went back. Mm-hmm. Well, basically, then the camera started rolling and now it's like 19 days later. And today I even started a new project. So things just keep rolling. And so I'm sorry, I only saw today's movie. I have no other things. I cannot say anything actual or something cool with movies coming out. I can say I saw the Uncharted trailer and I thought that looked pretty okay. Just like the video game, in my opinion. But that's just my humble opinion. Let's wait for the movie. Tom Holland is pretty good.
Well, to be honest, you watched the most important thing anyway, which is today's movie. But yes. I just want to show you what I got a present throughout the mail.
Oh,
it's the Jung Yimou Gong Li box set.
Look at that.
Right? It was great. And so far, I've watched Red Sorghum, which you can't see. I watched Judo. I watched Raise the Red Lantern. I'd never seen any of these movies before. So I've had some fun with this Jung Yimou Gong Li collection. But I watched one of my favorite horror movies franchises sequel on Saturday. I saw Halloween Kills.
Oh, say nothing. La 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 la. I'm going out of the room.
Well, I just
don't wanna
loved it.
hear-
I just loved it.
Okay, I don't want to hear anything about it. You loved it. Okay.
So, Gil,
Yes,
now that you've heard our film diary, surely you've got something you can share with us.
I was telling you, actually, I haven't really been to the cinema, without the COVID situation and all that. But I actually recently went to watch the Avengers movie.
I never pictured you for a Marvel fan.
Movie.
Yeah, I am a Marvel fan actually. I love watching their movies.
Oh,
and,
wow.
I think the Ten Rings is the one that I watched, by the way. So I actually love it.
Oh.
It's. Have you all seen it, by the way?
Hmm.
Have you seen it?
No,
No?
I haven't seen the last
Marvel fan at
Marvel
all?
movie.
Not a
No.
Marvel fan at all.
No.
Really? Wow.
Well,
okay.
I
I
enjoy
like
the
it for
Marvel
a couple
movie.
of things. I mean, firstly, is because I think one of the only Marvel film that has the Asian cast, right? And it's quite unique experience, watching it. And the storyline is great. The villain, it's fantastic. Very
Okay.
good, cool backstory. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I guess it's also because, the whole COVID period, we haven't had a chance to see much good movies in the movie theater itself. So this was one of the big films that was released very recently. So I watched it with my wife and we both enjoy it. And it's a very good experience just going back to the cinema again,
Yeah.
because it was, for the longest time, we couldn't even step in the cinema. So fantastic experience.
Strangely, I've been to the cinema in Singapore.
Just JD Chua, I believe he's also the film producer for a couple of Singapore movies, and I believe that he did one that I'm really looking forward to. It's called The Circle Line. So shout out to him, please. I'm really looking forward to that film. I don't know when it's going to come out, but JD is actually somebody that's doing very well in the Singapore movie scene as well. Shout out to him.
Okay.
Okay, we're getting a lot of name dropping on this
Yeah,
episode.
but he's in the chat. That's the thing. That's
Well, we've got a couple more chats. We've got Chiero Alex is saying "bom dia." Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but maybe Chiero, if you're there, thank you for the message.
Yes.
I've got a very incendiary message which I don't like from Adrian, who says Halloween Kills sucks.
Well, now
Adrian
I
and
got both ends. I got both ends. I got one who likes it and one who thinks it sucks. So I now have to see it myself to really see what it is.
Him and I have been emailing each other the last couple hours, and you know what? Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
All
But he
right,
does
all right,
run an awesome website called moviesandmania.com. It is all about horror. It's all about action. And yes, Gil, your movies are featured on his website. So if you have a chance later, moviesandmania.com. And
nice.
And JD just wants to go, shh, this show's about you.
So humble.
One of the things that we were going to talk about was the film that we looked at today. So the film was, now you told me I have to pronounce it 2359, and you're going to give us a little bit of a story later about why it has that specific pronunciation. But first, let's start off with what we thought of the movie. So I'm not going to ask you, Gil, because it's one of your babies, and I'm assuming you love it. But Wilco, what do you think?
Well, I thought it was a very interesting horror movie. It was, for me, one of the first Singaporean ones I've seen, to be honest. So, and I am looking to see more different types of horror. And I thought that there were the Ouija board in it, I thought was very, very interesting. Is that a Singaporean Ouija board, or
I don't think it's specific to Singapore. It's probably something more Asian. Yeah.
Okay, it's very unique.
More Asian.
It's interesting. It's it's round.
Chinese characters,
different shape, and I guess the cup moves around with a little arrow on it. it's a very interesting thing. So as our company recently, Ouija Japan came out. So to have different type of Ouijas in different type of areas in the world is very interesting. Besides that, I thought that it was the gore was actually pretty good. I thought it was very interesting, well done, and the makeup department gave us some gruesome visions. So I think that is I thought that was a highlight. And all in all, it was a unique experience. It was something else for me because, like I said, it's the first Singaporean horror movie I watched. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see more. How about you, Dan?
It was the third Singaporean horror movie I'd watched.
Third one.
Yep. I a couple of years ago in Hong Kong, I bought a Blu-ray of a movie called Blood Ties, and I don't remember anything about it. And then recently, I know it's my goldfish memory. Recently, I watched Zombie Pura.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then I watched this one for a specific reason because of a video that I did on another channel where we had a look at Singaporean horror movies. And this one looked the most interesting, so I checked it out. Now, if you've seen my review, and I do apologize for what I said.
No, you shouldn't apologize.
Well, I said it wasn't scary enough for a hardcore
You are right.
horror fan. I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I was waiting and kept it kind of vague because I want Dan to reiterate his review.
But I have many questions about the film. Many questions, which I'm hoping that you can answer. So one of the things that we're going to do tonight is not only am I going to fire a few questions at you, I'm also going to quiz you on a couple things. But then, as a special treat, you've got some awesome stories for us. Is that correct? That you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think 2359 for me, other than the fact that it's one of my babies, it also has a very, very interesting backstory, from how the whole movie is actually based on an actual incident to my own experience when I'm filming it. When I was developing the story and things like that, a lot of strange things happened to me as well. So yeah, it's a very interesting little project, to be very honest.
Cool. So the first question I want to ask you is something that we talked in the pre-show, was the pronunciation of the film. Now, I kept calling it 2359, to which you said...
I did too.
So we're both wrong, to which you said...
Yeah, I thought it was a time. Is it not the time? It's the time, right?
Oh, that's what I thought too.
No, you are right. It's the time, but you see, the thing is, right, if we ask any Singaporean male that has been to the army, for example, everybody would pronounce it as 2359. Why? Because it basically, in the army camp, if the sergeant was to tell you, hey, you got to book, so sometimes we book out of camp, right? And then you have to come back to camp within a certain time. So the sergeant will always say, you got to book in before 2359.
Okay.
And they will never say you got to book in by midnight or by, 2400 or whatever. It's always 2359, right? Okay. So it's basically ingrained into our culture in that sense, for Singaporean guys who have been through army, and it's a compulsory thing anyways. So all of us would understand that, it's 2359 means 1 minute before midnight. Okay. And it's always pronounced that way. So even when I go to Malaysia to promote a film, when I ask people, hey, do you know what does 2359 mean? Nobody knows. Like, what? It's just a number, So that's just the way it is, But for Singaporean, I thought it was a very interesting title because it immediately tells you 1 minute before midnight something creepy is going to happen. At the same time, it relates to army because that's the thing that we all associate with, especially if you have been through army, 2359. So that's just that's how it came about.
Well, that led to my second question, which is about the concept of the witching hour, which is midnight. And I noticed that a lot of Singaporean horror films tend to use 12 o'clock midnight as a marker for when things happen. So I thought initially I thought that the reason that you picked the minute before was because it was probably a bit more mysterious than actually midnight itself. But I'm hoping that you might be able to correct my assumption on this one.
You mean as in what, in terms of like
Superstition.
Superstition in terms of like?
Well, I'm under the, like, for Western culture, we would know that, at midnight, it's the witching hour. That's when, the ghosts come out, the witches come out, all that kind of stuff. So I was wondering, is that the same kind of thing prevalent in Singaporean culture, possibly with the old British influence? And is the 2359 a play on the fact of the witching hour of midnight?
Yes, of
A
course.
minute before.
So 2359 represents two things, right? One is horror and one is army. So these two things. And I think the title 2359 represents both things, meaning 1 minute before your midnight, which is the most, if you might say, haunting hour and the scariest or most horror or whatever. And 2359 also represents the army, which is the time that you book in, and all of us are very familiar with the term. So that's why we chose that title. But to begin with, it's actually, this was not the first title that I came out with.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're curious. What was the original?
The original title is Charlie Company, because the entire movie was based on an actual incident that happened in the Singapore Army in 1983. It's something that a lot of us as Singaporeans, we know about, we heard about, especially if you've been through army. There was this urban legend thing. So even when I've always heard of this urban legend. I thought it was just an urban legend until one day I decided, hey, I want to do a movie about this. And then I went to research. And then I realized that, hey, man, it's not actually an urban legend, it's a real thing. Because it appeared in a Singapore newspaper, the Straits Times. I went to research, I found an article that talked about 1983, actually what happened. So I realized that it was actually a real thing. Somebody did die, and strange things did happen during that time. And I wrote the story actually initially very close to what happened. Followed very closely to what happened in 1983.
All right. Ooh. So what are the biggest differences between the last, like the end result, and your original story?
So maybe for that context, I will just explain what is the actual story first, right?
Okay, cool. Yeah.
The actual story was about a group of recruits. We have to go on a so-called a route march. That is, it's one of those things that you need to do, like you march 10 kilometers and then through the night. And then you just march through it, and then you come back to camp, and then you consider that as one of your things that you need to do in the army. So what happened was, in this particular route march, one of the recruits actually had reported sick in the morning. So meaning he actually didn't go for the route march. He was given a medical leave in a sense. So he was staying in the bunk. But a lot of the people, including the camp commandants, didn't know about this. So what happened was, during the march itself, when they counted the number of people, so every checkpoint you need to count how many people are there. So there was actually already one person missing, right? So, but they didn't think that it was missing because they thought that he was,
behind
in the bunk. Yeah, but actually the story was that he reported sick, but he actually went to do the route march itself. A lot of the officers thought that he was not supposed to follow. You know what I'm saying? So so he was actually missing already along the way, but everybody didn't think so because they thought that he was in the bunk. So that was the story. So at the end of the night, right, when they reached the camp, then they realized and they found out that, oh shit, one of the recruits was actually missing. So the normal procedure is that the commandants will actually ask everybody to go out into the, to search for him. So almost close to morning time, they managed to find this recruit. he was squatted near a tree with his rifle. He was holding onto his rifle near a tree. And then when they approached him, it was actually the officer who found him. His stomach was cut open.
What?
His internal organs were spilled out onto the ground, basically.
Okay.
Right. So this thing definitely happened. Now, there are some stories that say that his organs were laid out in a neat row beside him. Okay, almost like you are, in the army when you have to actually lay out your, when the sergeant's supposed to check your bed and everything, you're supposed to lay out everything in a very neat row, right? So there's this urban legend that says that his internal organs are all laid in a neat row as well. Besides that one, I cannot verify, okay? But I can verify, according to the newspaper, is that his stomach is open up and his internal organs are spilled out for sure. All right.
Okay.
So this is what actually happened to that particular recruit. And after that, right, they did an autopsy and things like that, and they found that they couldn't define what actually was the cause of death.
Probably the open stomach.
Correct. Yeah. So till today, I can tell you that they cannot define it. Now, this is just the beginning of the story. So after that, what happened was, in his bunk, right? So in Singapore, right, every bunk has like 2 doors, one on each end of the room. Okay. And so in this bunk, all the other recruits, right, started experiencing strange things. So meaning what? So some of them woke up in the middle of the night. They sort of like had like a dream that he was standing at his bed. Some of them smelled something weird coming from the cupboard, and when they open the cupboard, there's nothing there, but it's very bad smell, right? So it's so bad that the Singapore Armed Forces they actually found some kind of what we call a bomo. Bomo is like a spiritual person, right? In Malay, who came. They actually invited an actual bomo to come into the bunk to take a look, like what the heck is going on, because everybody is getting all these strange dreams and strange vibes and all that. So the bomo examined the whole place, and then he said, look, the whole bunk, the spirit is trapped inside this bunk.
Yeah.
It cannot leave this bunk at all. The only way to do it is you have to open another door in the middle of the bunk to allow the spirit to go back to where it's supposed to go. Okay. All right. Now, so this sounds like a very far-fetched, crazy thing, right? But the reality is the Singapore Armed Forces actually opened up another door in that bunk. Yeah. So, and I tell you something, okay? So if you ask any of the Singapore Army soldiers, right, some of them will know that there's actually this bunk with 3 doors. So in Singapore, all the bunks are 2 doors, right?
Yeah.
So this is the one that has 3 doors. There's actually a bunk there in this island called Pulau Tekong. Okay, and it's still there, but right now it's not being used as a bunk. It's being used as more like a storeroom already. But that's the only bunk in the entire Singapore Armed Forces that has 3 doors. All right, so it really happened. Okay, so people on the island now, you can jog around, and some of the officers will in fact tell them, hey, this is the one with the 3 doors. And then they will show them, this is the one with the 3 doors. Then they will go and look, shit, there's 3 doors. Yeah.
That scared the shit out of him a little bit.
Yeah.
So that actually is the story, and it's the one that I was so intrigued by, and I wanted to recreate the story to be so close to what actually happened, Yeah. Yeah.
Gil, before I get to my next question, I've got another comment here from Daniel Wee. Just to tell you that.
Oh, nice.
So that's a nice message.
He's
I don't know if
buddy of mine,
I thought he might be, but best friends can still be fans. I had a question, so maybe a little bit more serious, and it's something that I noticed in a lot of Singaporean horror films is
Yep.
that there always tends they not always no let me start again. A lot of Singaporean horror movies tend to be based on the idea of being the army prescription about doing forced army time, but there also seems to be something to do with a bit of the racial history of Singapore that's also evident in a lot of these horror movies. Was that a factor when making this movie about the whole kind of prescription towards the army and how it seems to every young boy seems to have to do this?
To be very honest, when I did the movie, especially for 2359, it didn't start from there. It really was trying to tell the story that is very close to what actually happened in that particular time in 1983, where this very special thing happened. Until today, nobody knows what actually is the cause of death, right? I mean, of course, at the end of the day, all of us Singaporean males have been through army, so we are very. It's something that we always talk about, even after we leave army, we still talk about army because it's really a big part of our lives, right? So, and it's very similar to like Korean culture where, again, it's compulsory that you have to go into army. That's why you see also there's a lot of movies related to the army and including horror as well. I think there are a few zombie flicks related to the army and things like that. So, I mean, I guess it's part of our culture, but I don't think I've set up to, try to explore actually too much of the army origins in that sense. Yeah.
I've got a really awesome comment here, Gil. The famous Tikong recruit incident, always been intrigued to get it. When you tell it, it sounds much more vivid. Like an unsolved mystery. That's a really nice comment.
It's a nice comment, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ben.
So I was wondering how come the changes were made in the movie.
No, it's a fantastic question. So, for me, I always wanted to try to keep something very close to what the original incidents that happened, including that big portion of it, which is obviously the scariest part, is the person with the, intestines all spill out and all that kind of thing. And that is the thing that most Singaporeans will identify with, to be honest, because we all heard about it. And it's probably one of the scariest things, right? So when I wrote that story in the beginning, and it's called Charlie Company, it was because this boy that went missing and subsequently died, he was from the Charlie Company, all right? And when I wrote it, I wrote it with even the names following very closely to the actual people, Now, so what happened was there was one day one night, in fact, I like to write in the middle of the night, right? So I was in my living room, I was writing the story, 2-3 a.m. in the morning. So you can imagine 2-3 a.m., it's very quiet, right? So I was writing my story and, and all of a sudden, right above me, you can hear furniture dragging sound. I don't know, have you all experienced that? But
no.
Just on top
I
luckily never experienced that.
Well, I have, but because my partner's apartment in China, the people upstairs were actually moving the furniture.
Yeah, so
that's
they
the only
were
reason.
moving. Yeah, so exactly. So for me, I would assume that people are trying to move their furniture in the middle of the night at 2-3 a.m. in the morning, So
not cool.
I was writing my script, and this thing happened right on top of me, right?
Yeah.
And so loud that I couldn't concentrate, right? And I was just writing my script, and it was so loud, honestly, that I stopped my script. I saved my work. I closed my laptop. I said, F it, right? I go and sleep. Okay, so I went to sleep. Now, the next morning, I went upstairs to talk to my neighbor because, so I went upstairs and I pressed the doorbell and all that. So what happened was somebody opened the door, and it was this old Indian lady. And I was telling her, hey, sometimes I work really late in the night because I write Sometimes I work really late at night. So would you mind if you don't try not to be too loud in the middle of the night lah? And then her reply to me was that, hey, only me and my husband is staying here, and we sleep every night at 10. So 100% it's not us. We are asleep. There's nobody dragging anything or whatever, So okay, I'm like, okay, sure, thanks,
Wow.
And that was one incident, right? Now, and about a week later, so as you can understand, I changed my writing habits from nighttime to now daytime, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
So in the day I was writing my script. Okay, in the day. So now this is in the day. So I'm writing my script in the day, and all of a sudden, now it's just a normal day, not particularly windy or whatever. And all of a sudden, the toilet, the toilet in my house, the door just slammed shut and locked itself from inside.
Wood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you can say I definitely am not imagining things because my wife was there as well, So
And there was none of this going on?
Yeah, none of the
no alcohol,
drugs or alcohol, man.
No.
Okay.
So the door slammed shut and locked from inside. I couldn't open the door, and I for the life of me, I didn't know where my keys were. I couldn't even open the door. And then an hour later, the same thing happened to my master bedroom, the toilet.
Okay.
Slammed shut by itself, locked.
But what kind of lock do you have?
It's that kind where you pressed it in,
And that okay.
Yeah, it's the kind where you go inside and then you just press it.
Okay.
It needs a bit of force.
A bit of an old school thing, So both my toilets was literally locked from inside.
Wow.
And I couldn't even go to pee. I remember I had to drive out to my nearby coffee shop with my wife, because we couldn't find the keys. I couldn't find the keys. We drove out and just to pee, and then I go and buy new locks, and I knocked out the whole thing and changed the locks. That was literally what happened.
Wow.
Okay. So now, for me, I'm not a very superstitious person, to be very honest, right? But my executive producer, his name is Eric Koo. I'm not sure. Do you all know about him?
No.
Eric Koo is one of the pioneer filmmakers in Singapore. He has won many international awards. One day if you come to Singapore, I would love to introduce you all. He's a very famous filmmaker. He's also one of the people that really believed in me and invested in me. So now he, on the other hand, is a very superstitious person. So when I went to Eric and told him, hey, this thing happened to me, and it all happened within like a span of 2 to 3 weeks, right? And then Eric, who is super superstitious, and he was like, yeah, I think maybe the spirit doesn't want the story to be told like that, and we should just change the whole storyline. And that's actually what happened. So I actually changed the storyline, changed all the names, changed the title from Charlie Company to 2359, changed all the characters' name, removed that scene of that, the intestine, the stomach being cut open and all that kind of thing. So changed a lot of things, but of course the structure still follows the same, but I know. And then when you say that it's not as scary, and I agree with you, I wish that it was scarier because I wanted it scarier. But to be very honest, this was the backstory, and that was how we actually developed and the funny thing is, after I changed the script and I rewrote the whole story, everything went very smoothly, including when I was filming.
Nothing
else happened to me. Nothing else happened. No more locked toilets. No more, So it was just really weird. But it went very smoothly, including the filming itself. I only took 17 days to film, which was very, in a way, is very fast. I think, Wilco, you I don't know how many days you filmed your feature, but 17 days and considering the fact that we filmed a lot of days in the
Yeah.
Malaysian jungle and a lot of days it was actually raining like hell. You know, half the night was raining like crazy, you know, so we couldn't even film. I mean, it was 17 days and it went pretty smoothly, you know. Yeah.
17 days is pretty tight. Yeah, that is very much. Yeah.
So before we cut to a quick break, I do have a quick question for you. Another one, Gil, because I'm writing questions as we're going along. Have you ever thought of re-looking at the original script and maybe trying to make it again? Or are you just spooked completely now?
No, no. To begin with, I wasn't spooked at all. I mean, I just felt it was interesting. Like I told you, I always like to push things to the edge. I'm not that superstitious. And if it wasn't for my executive producer, Eric Koo, saying, hey, we should do it differently, I may have just stuck with everything, you know.
Oh, we would have a much different story. Now, we've got a quick comment
we may have
from...
another movie that is the backdrop of whatever was happening, right? The making of, who knows. But, but I mean, I never really thought of it that way. But I mean, we changed the story idea, but of course, it's still something that I wanted to produce.
Yeah.
But I can totally sense it, and I agree with you that it could have been scarier. It could have been a lot. No, I totally agree. You know, so yeah.
Well, having the context helps. We've got a quick comment from Ben here that goes, before you go into the army, most of us would have heard of the Charlie Company incident and the three-door bunk. So to have a local director portray it in a movie, we can relate. So it looked well received. And one of the questions I have for you later definitely proves that. Now, just before we continue, we're going to have a quick advertiser sponsor message quickly from Wilco.
Oh, nice.
All right. So this Halloween, it's kill or be killed, because last 19th of October, from Tokyo Bay Films, CultureSHOCK Japan presents, and directed by Masaya Kato, Ouija Japan came out. Karen is an American housewife living in Japan who desperately wants to fit in with her Japanese community until peer pressure forces her to play the Kokiri-san, the Japanese Ouija, with the other housewives unwittingly disrespecting a local deity who sets them up to fight each other in a deadly game of Battle Royale. Now available on to buy for Blu-ray on Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon, or Barnes & Noble, and find all the descriptions you need and all the links in the link tree in the description below this video. And that was my little 2 cents about that. And I say, let the hunt begin this Halloween with Ouija Japan. Thank you, Dan, for giving me the floor.
I love it when you do these bits. They get better and better. Now, quiz time for Gil.
Ooh.
Now,
Nice.
Wilco, if you know the answers, you can jump in, of course.
Okay, probably I won't, but
now, Gil, recently I made a video about the top 20 Singaporean horror movies in the box office. So we ranked their incomes from USD in US dollars from most to less. Now, I didn't do that. A friend of mine on Facebook did all the research. So he used many sources. It is. And I believe his list is accurate. Now, Gil, of the 6 movies that you've made 3 horror films. How many
Is it true?
I believe.
Okay, yes, correct.
Yeah. Of your 3 horror movies, how many do you think are in Singapore's top 20 highest earning horror movies of all time? Yeah.
Wow, shit. Okay, first of all, there are not that many movies that came out of Singapore. So
hey, we made a list of 20, so there's at least 20.
Gosh. I would like to think all 3 though. So
hey, Wilco, do you want to have a stab at the answer? What do you reckon? How many of his movies?
I'm not even gonna try. I mean,
you just gotta
give us the
answer,
answer.
bro.
Give us the answer.
I'm curious if anyone in the comments knows, but believe it or not, Gil, not only are all 3 of your movies in the top 20, they're also in the top 10.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now we're going to get a bit.
Shows that there are not that many Singapore.
Now we're going to get a bit trickier now.
Yeah.
The next question is, which number do you think is how high do you think your first film appears on the list?
Second.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
He goes high.
does go high.
I think
I
second.
think, you know what? I'm just going to
Wait,
say
wait. So
one.
you're talking about horror movies, right?
Only horror. Yeah, only
Only
Singaporean
horror.
horror.
Second. I
Second?
think second.
I'm
Yeah,
going
sorry
to
to
say first. I'm going to say
First.
first.
I'm sorry to
Definitely
tell
not first.
both of you are
That's
incorrect.
just the mid.
Oh.
Third.
Third.
Gosh,
Yeah.
what's second?
Well-
what's first and second? I know the maid, right? The maid is definitely one.
The Maid is one, yes. And what else do you think is there? It's a movie
Oh.
very similar to yours.
But
Well, at least from the trailer it
very,
is.
very similar to mine. Boys to Men, but that's not horror, you know.
Okay, well, does anyone in the comments know? How about JD or Ben? You might have an idea. Now, The Maid is second on the list, right? It's
Okay.
definitely second.
The maid is second.
Yeah.
What, there's another first?
Oh, God, I hope I've got this
Horror?
right now.
Horror?
yeah.
Really?
It's a film called Where Got Ghost.
Ah, right. Okay.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Okay. I got it. Okay.
Right.
I got it. Where God Goes is something that I was also supposedly was going to be involved in, but
Ooh.
yeah. No. Okay. Cool.
So that was it. Now your other movies appear at number 7
Cool.
and at number 9.
Wow.
Let me just have a quick look.
Wait,
Number
which one
7
is 7? Which one is 9?
is The Haunting
didn't-
Hour is at 7.
Oh,
And
okay.
Ghost Child is at 9. Now, we had a comment there. I believe it was from Ben. I know JD. He said
Ben.
rule number 1. Now,
No.
where do you think rule number 1 is?
Rule number 1 might be maybe 4th or 5th, I think.
You're good at this. It's 5th. It is.
Fifth, eh?
It is 5th. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll read off the complete list. Coming in at 4th.
What did Ben say?
Ben, did you have a guess or did you just say?
You said all
He-
three.
Well, Pete said all 3. I'll read you out the full list. Number 1 is Where Got Ghost, and then it's The Maid. Then it's 2359. Then The Ghosts Must Be Crazy. Then rule number 1. Now this title I'm going to say wrong. Revenge of the Pontiana.
Pontiana.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then your other Haunting Hour film. Then something called Greedy Ghost, which sounds
Yeah.
very Chinese to me.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah, a Ghost Child, and then rounding off the top 10 is Haunted Changi.
Sure.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is,
What's a
I
Jenny?
mean, some of the films that you like, for example, the Where God Goes, it's really a mix between comedy / horror. I mean, the director Jack, I know him pretty well as well. You know, Jack is one of the most famous director in Singapore. Yeah. In fact, I was supposed to. Where God Goes is actually a trilogy. You know, I was supposed to direct one of them. Yeah, but I went on to do 2359. Yeah.
Well, I'm
that
happy to
was-
change history if you want and remove that from the list.
no, please. No, I'm happy to have that. Totally. Yeah, they deserve all the credit. Yeah.
Seems Ghost Child is underrated, says JD. So we should check it out.
Gil's not going to say no, don't check it out. How can
You
we
can
watch
check it
Ghost
out.
Child?
It's on Netflix, brother. Netflix.
Ah, beautiful.
Netflix, and I believe YouTube even people have put it out, you know.
Oh, really?
A pirate copy, eh?
The Ghost Child is a concept of a baby ghost in Asia. It's also known as the toyo. You know, it's
Okay.
a Malay word, and in Thai actually, it's a kumantong. So it's actually it's all talking about a kind of baby ghost that you keep, you know, and this baby ghost will do things for you in
Okay.
exchange for your blood and your loyalty. So you have to feed it blood and things like that every night. And if you forget to feed it, you will get some kind of
Hey, that
whatever.
sounds pretty good. I like that.
So
concept.
that is the whole concept of Ghost Child, which is based on again, whether you call it an urban legend or what, but it's
All right.
it's very it's in Asia, I think it's very well known, you know, whether it's you call it a toyo or kumantong in Thai and things like that, but a baby ghost kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Wilco,
Is
are you
that-
thinking
is
the
that
same
as
thing I
close-
am? Are you thinking the same thing I am?
Well, I am.
Inshin
I just,
Saba versus Sadako
Yeah.
versus Kumatong versus Ghost Child. I'm calling them tomorrow.
all right. Calling all of them. But what I would like to know for the Ghost Child is that close to the urban legend as far as you know, or did weird things happen to that one too?
No, that one is honestly it's not based on any specific incident, but it's just a generic
Okay.
thing that happens in terms of you got to feed it, you got to be very close to it, you actually treat it almost like a baby, you know.
Oh, by
but
the way, I have
yeah.
one question. In the movie, there is this exorcism. What is the red stuff that they throw on the guy?
It's some kind of a blood, like dog's blood or something like that.
Dog's
So
blood.
in Asia, you know, it's one of those things that you counter against spirits. You know,
Okay.
so you use that kind of blood to, you know, to counter against the spirits. For I have no idea why, but it's widely believed to work.
All right.
Okay, you know, so again, it's based on this kind of memes, and you know, but in Asia, you generally think and believe that, you know, when you have this kind of blood, you are able to fight against certain types of spirits. Yep.
Okay, and that is dog's blood.
Don't get any ideas, Wilco.
No,
Yes.
no.
Yeah, please don't kill dogs, okay?
Come on. I heard it was a ghost. Come here.
Can I ask a question to both of you? Because you're both filmmakers, right? Is it easier to create a horror film based on a superstition, or is it easier to create a brand new original story? What do you guys prefer to do?
Wilco, please take it away.
For me, I like original stories because you can do whatever you want. On the other hand, of course, it is easier to, well, it is easier in a way to use an existing property or some like an urban legend because you have the rules to follow. So it is you just use what is there, and then you use that story, so you don't have to make anything up. So it is easier to use that. However, just like Gil just told you, if things start to happen and you have to change it, or people don't agree with the version you're trying to tell, then you have to change it. Then you have to adapt it to something else, and then it becomes a headache, let's say, depending on who is involved. So I would say I like original better myself because I can do whatever I want. However, sometimes it's fun to work with existing material because then the bounding of the rules actually could create extra creativity because you have to follow these rules, let's say. But then again, then politics come into play sometimes with certain stories because you have to be true to it, or you cannot offend, or things like that. Or your toilet slam shut, and then you have to change the entire story.
The neighbor moves the furniture at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Exactly,
Gil, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Well, now I mean, from our experience, right? Like, if it's something that everybody knows about, like let's say in your country, right? Like 2359. One of the reasons why I believe it was quite successful is the fact that a lot of Singaporean army boys know about this story. Even though at the end of the day they might criticize it, the fact that, oh, how come it's not it's not what I heard, right? It's not how it happened. But because of the backstory, a lot of people will be very keen to watch it to begin with, right?
That's
so
true.
You have a certain base to sort of work your story. But of course, in terms of creativity, originality, to come up with something brand new and totally blows people's mind, that of course is very interesting as well, right?
I 100% agree with Gil that based on marketing, it is perfect to create something that exists because everyone knows it. So it's easier to, for having people that want to watch it because of the curiosity. That is true, 100%.
Just want to correct you. Sorry. I just want to correct you on one thing, Gil. You said mostly might have been successful. I believe it was successful.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
In the Singapore context, when we released the movie at 2359, we were coming up against big Hollywood films like Tower Heist, Ben Stiller, Eddie Murphy.
Yep.
It was in the same week, you know, and I never thought that we would be able to beat them, but we did. So we
Well,
was
Tower Heist wasn't that good, so
Yeah. Let's be
so
honest.
yeah. I mean, when we released it, you know, we were number one at the box office. So
nice.
it was cool. You know, it's something that we sort of didn't expect actually. And to be very honest, I also heard that when the film was released, right, and I can ascertain that in the opening weekend when the movie was out, I tried to buy a ticket to go and watch my own movie, and I kid you not, I couldn't buy a ticket.
That's
I
awesome.
I went to the most remote places in Singapore to try to buy a ticket. I'm not sure, Dan, whether you know, like Tiong Bahru is like a place that not many people go, right? And then there's a cinema there, and I tried to buy a ticket there, and it was sold out, you know. So it was
That's
quite
awesome.
crazy. Yeah, so it was quite crazy. And then after that, I read a lot of blogs, people writing about, you know, in their blogs. They said that they actually purchased tickets to other people's movie to come into the cinema, and they were sitting at the, you know, at the aisle at the side, you know, and with their friends because they couldn't get a ticket. So I mean, it was crazy, you know, and that was the kind of, I mean, as a filmmaker, that's probably like, you know, it's one of those things that you when you go into a cinema, you experience the movie with a full audience, and you know, collectively they give out their expression, when it's a joke they laugh, and then when it's a scary
True,
scene
true.
they get
Best
that is
feeling,
to me
huh, Gil?
that's the best feeling. Is correct. Exactly. Yep.
So you have seen it in the cinema with a crowd, because I remember one thing Wilco really enjoyed about Tokyo Homestay was the opportunity to watch it on the big screen with a crowd.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Also with Ouija Japan, we did
I'm
that
sure,
too.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm sure
nice.
Wilco feel the same way, right? Like
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
watch
yeah.
a film with the crowd, with the audience, and then you get the sense of feeling of, oh, I made a joke here, did it work? I did a scare scene here, did it work? You know, and
It's
that
really
is
weird. There's this energy in the theater, and it could be a good one or even sometimes a bad one, that you just feel how people react to it. It's really weird. You can feel the audience. And I guess if you go to the theater yourself, you're enjoying the movie because you're entertained. But when you made the movie, you have this different experience because you saw it so many times with no one. Then when you see it with an audience, that energy is really different. You can feel how the audience is looking at it. It's really weird. I experienced that a few times. It's funny.
But it's a hell of an experience from the sounds of it. It's a hell of a feeling.
It is. It is very interesting.
Did you, Gil? Did you dress up in like a detective coat and a hat? No.
No, but during our premiere, we did hire a lady that dressed up as a ghost, you know, going around to scare the audience. That was quite fun. Yeah.
You like your pranks, huh, Gil? I heard you like your pranks.
I love it, man.
Like calling people when you see the ring, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What would you say your influences in horror have been?
Me?
Yeah. Film-wise, not superstitious-wise, film-wise.
No, I was telling Wilco just now, actually, when you were at the, you know.
I was at the toilet, that's fine,
yeah,
and the door didn't lock. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I one of my first influences was from Japan horror, J horror, you know. The Ring, you know,
The Grudge.
The Grudge,
Dark
Water, correct, exactly.
Yeah.
So during that period, but I really remember The Ring as one of those films that really hooked me. I remember, number one, watching it with some friends. I think it was on a VHS actually that time.
Yes.
One of them brought, you know. So I watched that first, and then I went to watch in the cinema, and I could feel the kind of reaction in the cinema, you know, when Sadako was coming out from the TV, right? And the whole cinema was like a collective, like that kind of feeling.
Mhm.
So, and that really sort of like awoken something in me. Like, I mean, at that time, I guess I was already thinking about making films and all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so that really was something that influenced
Yeah.
me a lot. Like in terms of, I think in the early days of J horror, right, it was a lot of psychological horror. You
Mhm.
don't see so much of the ghost, right?
No.
And that has always been my influence. I don't like to show too much of the ghost because the moment you
Mhm.
see it, right, after that it's like, what are you gonna do with it? So you're gonna like, it's best to let you have the imagination of how the ghost look like and
Mm.
what it is like. And that to me is still the scariest part. So I always don't really like to show the ghost, to be very honest. Towards the end, you have to have a payoff, lah. Of course, the audience, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Wilco? What was your first? What was your influence again for the horror?
My influence for horror. Well, I started more in the gore department. So I very early on grew up with the classics. Like we're talking about Elm Street, we're talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, stuff like that. I was never really in the ghost thing, more in the gore and the splatter, let's say, and then in the things you can fight. That's how I kind of describe it. However, personally, I am afraid of ghosts. So the thing is that so later when movies like Paranormal Activity came out and stuff from Universal like The Conjuring and stuff, those resonated really well because I thought those were actually quality made ghost movies that freaked me out because I don't like ghosts. So and they're
I better pick
very
that for you.
yeah, I'm sorry, but that
Oh.
one was I really dig that. But then you can kind of see because I'm working on my own. I made a promo for a Japanese ghost type, let's say a ring type Japanese ghost a film. And I still have that I want to fight it. So I do actually show the ghost. So I do show the ghost a lot, but it's because I wanted to be creepy and present and haunting in the background, just basically pushing the lead in order to do something. So that's why I choose to actually show the ghost a little more often than Gil would, probably in his movies. But it's
Two
also
interesting
because I
methods.
like to fight it. I like to see something that is there, the poses, and then if I could, I would like to kick his ass. Like that's where I come from. So that's why I don't like the original Ghost idea because I cannot fight it. So that's why I'm afraid of it. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's scary.
All right, Gil, and actually, this is going to be another question to both of you, but we'll start with Gil. Gil, if you could remake any horror movie ever in your own style with a fairly average, like a moderate budget, what would you do? Which one would you pick?
Could Wilco take this first? Because I need to
Ooh.
run to the toilet.
Okay, okay.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about it.
Don't lock the
No
door.
problem. You
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
Well, actually, okay. So I just heard about Ghost Child. I think that would be an interesting one to do, actually. But that question is very interesting. I never thought about that. Well, I should be lying. I always wanted to make an alien movie. So that's not really a horror per se. Oh, it is a horror. What are you talking about?
No, it
So
is. Yeah.
I always liked the alien movies. I never per se wanted to make a remake of it, but more like another one, let's say. But then, that was around Alien 3 and 4 came out, and now it's like, drill into the ground with all those prequels and Alien
yeah.
versus Predator things. So at this stage, I don't think anyone's waiting for it or is interested in it at all. But that was something that I always wanted to do. If you ask me now which horror movie I would want to remake, oof. I think no, I don't want to remake a horror movie. I would just want to make
Oh.
sequels. I would rather make sequels to existing horror movies. Like make me, I rather make another Halloween or another Elm Street or another, and then in the original continuation. So I would like to have an Elm Street with the original actor of Freddy Krueger.
Robert England.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly him. Uh, I would want to make a Halloween in the original continuation. So I would rather expand on original continuations than I would want to remake things. And I guess that's my answer. I'm sticking to that.
Well, that's fair enough. But the problem with Halloween is that there's now 3 different timelines for it. And as much as they always, shaft the last couple of timelines, which one would you pick? Are you picking the Halloween 4, 5, 6 timeline, the awful Rob Zombie timeline, or the new timeline?
Well, to be honest, the original timeline ended with part 2.
And no one disagrees with you there. Trust me, no one disagrees with you.
Yeah, you're right. Then you have 4, 5, 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Well, then you have the home. I'm wondering, by the way, because Homecoming, in my opinion, was already quite a reboot of everything that came before that. Because H2O kind of
film.
picked up after 2, and then after that we got 8. Hello, Homecoming. Come on, that's the most horrible. I like.
Oh no, it's called Resurrection. Actually. It's called Resurrection.
Yeah. Oh, Resurrection. Yeah. No. Which timeline? Well, I have to say that I would go with 4, 5, 6.
Beautiful. We've got JD in the comments reckons Candyman.
All right. Well,
Hey, yeah. Do a Asian Singaporean style Candyman. That's cool.
Ooh.
Love to see that.
So just to give you a quick one, Wilco's answer was he was potentially wanted to do an Alien movie, but he doesn't want to remake anyone else's films. He wants to continue a existing franchise.
Yeah, original
to which
timeline.
He said Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street.
Or Elm Street, something like that. But in the original timeline, in the original continuation, let's say, not in any remake timelines. That would be my answer. Just to continue existing continuations of horror franchises. So I don't want to reboot.
So Gil?
What I really want to do next, right, is to do some very realistic kind of horror. In the vein of like Paranormal Activity, but I don't know if we're going to call it Paranormal Activity, but something that audiences would be questioning, is this real? Is this not real? Because I think to me, right, that is the scariest thing, right? So on my channel, I've already started experimenting with some of this, like doing some little shots that we try to do a bit of very realistic CCTV, whether it's CCTV or some other kind of format, and I think to me it's very interesting because you got to think through how do you make it as realistic as possible, and at the same time, into a coherent storyline as well, right? So Paranormal Activity is something I really appreciate because that's what it did, in terms of, creating things that you also have to think. Some people, I'm pretty sure, think about like, oh, is it real or not, So, and I think it's tough to do. And it's something that I really want to try, on the long form. I've been doing it in little bits of short forms and trying to get people's feedback and things like that. Yeah, but that's something I really want to try.
Yeah. Cool. Well, before I said Alien, I said Ghost Child. When I heard the story, I think it's pretty good. So I have to see the movie first, and then maybe we have to talk, Gil.
Wilco, I need to tell you something, right? If you ever watch my movie Ghost Child, there's one scene towards the end where the protagonist goes into this little village thing, and traditionally, right, in Asia, if you talk about Ghost Child, you associate it with playing with marbles and because that's what they do. So meaning a lot of people will actually put out marbles in their house, or if you look at casinos even, right? If you go to Singapore casino, right? You see like maybe at the back entrance or whatever, right? You see there are marbles there and some candies just put there. because they
ghost child.
believe that yes, the ghost child are there to help in getting people to just be there and lose money and whatever, you know.
Lose
That's
money.
the belief. By the way, that's the belief. So if you go into casino, you try to look up for it. I promise you, you will see it.
Cool.
Right?
I will.
Oh,
Now,
nice.
So I was going to
Definitely.
tell you, when I was filming Ghost Child, right?
Yeah.
One of the scenes that we did was in this place, Lorong Buangkok is one of the few villages left in Singapore. You know, Singapore is a modern society, and you know, very little village left. So there's this place that we went to film this scene where it was supposed to be. We were supposed to film it as like a flashback, you know, you know. So when we went there, I was walking around the place and looking at the backyard and things like that. And then I saw in the backyard there was this space there that they put a lot of marbles there and a lot of candies.
Okay.
So immediately I was like asking the house owner, hey, you know, what's up with that? Then she said she's smiling and she didn't want to say too much, you know, but said, yeah, we have to put it there just for, you know. Yeah, and so I tell you, you know, so if you have a chance to watch that film and you watch towards the end, you see that film, that's where we film it. And that's the place that actually the people genuinely put the marbles and the candies there, you know. And I was so shocked when I was there, when I was doing the location recce. And they also told us, hey, you know, when you film here, please do not bring any pork related stuff.
Oh.
Okay. So we and my producer obviously took it into account and said, hey, please everybody don't ever bring any food that has pork in it. So we don't know what's the reason, right? Sometimes we just like, okay, we follow whatever you say, right? They say don't bring any pork related stuff. Now, on the night that we filmed Ghost Child, there was one scene where the abusive husband goes into the room and he's like trying to search the whole house for money. He's an abusive big size guy, you know, and he, so on action he goes into the room, he starts taking out all the drawers and like trying to look for money, right? Within like 5 seconds he shouts out, you know, and then we all like, what the hell happened, right? So I ran inside the house, right? And then he was showing me his hand. Had a very deep cut. Blood coming out from it. And I was like, what the hell happened? He said, I didn't do anything. I was just opening up the drawer. So I went to look at the drawer, right? I myself went to try it out. I was like opening and closing it. Nothing, you know, there's nothing. There's like nothing that could have caused this thing. So I was trying myself, you know. Open and close, nothing. So I was like, really strange, right? What the hell happened? Why did this happen? And then we found out later that this guy, this actor, he came in around midnight because we were shooting an overnight shoot, right? Yeah. He came around midnight and he brought with him supper. He was so nice that he bought everybody supper. And he bought the supper was wonton mee. So in Singapore, wonton mee, I don't know if you know that wonton mee, right? Basically inside has pork, and you know, so he didn't know obviously. Then he bought and everybody just ate it. So now, if you look at it and you're like thinking, "Wow, is it real? Like, how the hell? Like, why no pork?" And then like somebody brought pork, and this happened to him.
Yeah, you know? it's a beautiful coincidence. It's beautiful.
Like, yeah, Wilco, you know, what the hell happened? Who knows, right? So and it really happened because everybody saw his finger and it was dripping blood, you know. It's literally like there was blood on the floor.
It was blood for the child because he brought pop.
So I have no idea, you know.
Gil KL says the same thing happens in Macau casinos with with that setup.
Yes.
With the marbles.
And Ben says even in Thai and Cambodian casinos.
Kumantong, yes, exactly, yes. Ben is very knowledgeable in this kind of things. Ben, I believe Ben is the one that
Ben knows.
He stayed in
Beautiful.
Thailand for like the longest time, so he knows.
Well, big thank you to KL and Ben for that. Now, I've got 2 more short questions, and then if Wilco's got any questions, and then we'll go to the trailer. My very quick question for you now, and I've completely forgotten it, so I'll ask the other one. Practical versus computer effects. I think I know the answer, but I know Wilco's answer on this. But Gil, practical versus computer, what's better?
For me, always practical. You know,
Beautiful.
I always like that. I actually have experimented with computer effects in Ghost Child, and I didn't really like it, to be honest. Practical has always, to me, it's more scary. It's just, and it's more believable. Yeah, and it has just generally worked better for me. Yeah.
Beautiful. Wilco, I think I know your answer, but
Yeah, you know, the thing is that ironically, everything that I direct myself, I like practical the most. But then the ones that I produced, ironically, have a lot of CG in it. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird reverse karma there.
all right. Wilco, do you have any questions for Gil? Otherwise, we're going to get his reaction on a trailer.
I think we should watch the trailer. I'm very looking forward to his reaction to that.
Oh
Which
my God.
trailer?
I'm not telling you the name. You both are just going to have to watch this one.
What is
now,
it?
this
Wait,
movie,
which country? Chinese?
Mainland China. It is releasing in 4 days' time in the cinema in China. So, gentlemen,
Really?
yeah, please enjoy this. Now, hold on. I've got to press play. Sorry, that is so Chinese. Firstly, Gil, can you read Chinese?
Yes, I can.
So you got the couple of the subtitles that were in there.
Yeah.
Do you recognize who the main actor is?
Yes.
Either of you two?
Actually, when you told me China, I was like, okay, so because a lot of the actors are actually from Hong Kong. So I can't, so is it Hong Kong, is it China? And obviously Hong Kong has a lot more history in terms of filmmaking, in terms of horror and things like that. So my immediate reaction is actually it looks quite decent until I saw some of the special effects thingy. So it's quite interesting in terms of what we were talking about, right? In terms of practical effects or special effects. So I could literally see all the special effects and it didn't look good, but in terms of like just the actors, I know some of them and, it's, but when you talk about the special effect, it just didn't work for me, Yeah.
Well, the main big actor in that one is Carlos Chan. Wilco, I don't know if you know Carlos Chan or have seen him around
before. His face is very familiar, so we must have seen him a few times.
He's been in one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen, called Buyer Beware. It is
Buyer Beware, is it?
Absolutely horrendous film. Now, this movie, the English title is horrible, but it's from a director of a Hong Kong movie from 20 odd years ago. Same director, who's now apparently going to mainland China to direct this abomination that you both have just witnessed. I believe,
Arty, actually, to be honest.
Wait a minute, sorry. Buyers Beware, is it a China thing or is it a Malaysian thing?
I believe that's Malaysian Hong Kong.
Okay, I
It's
think
filmed
I
in
heard
Hong
of
Kong.
it before because is it released by MM2?
I believe
Entertainment?
so. Yep. I believe I
Ah,
might have got a copyright from them. Yeah.
I see. MM2, huh? MM2 is, by the way, they are my investors for most of my films.
Oh. Other words, I love you, MM2.
We love MM2. They're the best.
No,
yeah.
but I have no idea. I've never watched Buyers Beware, but I have no idea. But yeah,
It's about a real estate agent who sells a property that is haunted.
so Dan, have you watched it or not? Actually,
Buyer beware. I have this movie. No, because this one hasn't come out yet.
or Buyers Beware you have seen, but not this one, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
got it.
like
Yeah.
I like to show Wilco horrible trailers.
Yeah, he likes to do that.
every now and then. And so
Horrible
Wilco,
movies too, just full movies, horrible. We even watched a horrible movie online last time, like from start to finish.
Really?
it was a mainland China remake
How
of
does it
the
work? So
remake.
y'all will play the movie and then y'all will react to it. Is it?
We
Is that how
were.
it goes?
That
Well,
one.
yeah, we did that once, and then after we removed all the music because or else copyright strike.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So the
Got
movie
it.
was a Chinese remake of the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. It was
Yeah.
a almost one-to-one recreation of the film.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
And
that's
how did it work out?
You can watch episode 9.
What right now we are episode what?
10.
This
10.
is 10.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the previous one, huh?
Mhm.
Okay,
The
okay.
last
I'll
one,
go and
yeah,
check
the
it out.
previous one. Yeah.
Yeah. Wilco, what do you think of that? Like that's clearly, it's a Halloween movie coming up, but
It's very Chinese. I thought it was surprisingly artsy, some shots here and there. I don't know. I am not excited.
now I'll tell you both, that is the 6th trailer that has been released for that
They
film.
have 6 trailers.
They are almost all identical. They have the same music, almost the same footage. They're just ever so slightly longer. There has never been a line of dialogue in any trailer that they've released yet. Now, I'm starting to get a bit worried about how good that film will be. Now, I'm just looking at Carlos Chan. He was in Raging Fire, and now he's in this film. So the guy clearly will take anything.
But he was like what, a side character in Raging Fire.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, he was like 2 minutes.
No, that's what I mean. So it doesn't matter. He's just working on his career. He's just working on his career.
He still stood toe to toe with Donnie Yen, chewing on a drink and chewing gum, and told him where to go. Gentlemen, I think we might have come to the end of this evening's show. Yeah. JD's gone, unfortunately. He says thank you, Wilco. He's going to buy you a coffee soon from the sounds of it.
Oh, there we go.
He can get us one too. Just don't tell him. Gil, thank you so much for being our special guest tonight.
Gil.
No, it's my honor. Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. Wilco,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. The stories have been fantastic. The insight to how the movie came about has been fantastic.
How it changed.
How it changed. Yeah. Anything else you want to say before we head off?
Well, I'm gonna at least prep my toilet doors. I'm gonna be extra careful for those. Like I'm like put some rubber strips between them. Like I don't know.
Do you have neighbors above you?
I do actually. I hope they're gonna be very quiet.
Go
I've been
have a chat to
hearing
them.
drilling the whole day, but that's during the day, so that's fine. I'm not writing during the day, but at least they're quiet at night. But yeah.
Beautiful. Well, if you gentlemen have nothing more to add, we will say good night to our audience and tell them thank you for being with us for the last 80 minutes. We've enjoyed all your comments. We've enjoyed having Gil on the show. We're back in 2 weeks' time where Wilco and I will look at... flowers?
Tokyo Funeral Flowers, I believe. Offering Flowers. That's what it is. Offering Flowers.
Jesus,
from the same director of We Did Japan. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. But soon, Dan, we should do a Ghost Child episode.
I'm all for it. And Gil, if you want to come back for it, maybe we'll arrange that offline with you. I think that would be super awesome.
Sure.
All right. Well, let's bid good night to everyone. Thank you very much.
All right.
Cheers,
Good
man.
night,
Cheers.
everyone.
Cheers.
See you. Bye bye.